In this video, I'm going to show you how you can blur out a static object in DaVinci Resolve. So let's head over to the program. So it doesn't matter whether you have the free or the studio version of DaVinci Resolve, as this option is available in both. So I'm on the Edit tab and I'm going to import this video which I made earlier. So this particular video has the DaVinci Resolve logo. So these logos appear at a set point and then they disappear towards the end of the video. So I want to blur out these objects. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to unlink the audio from the video. So let's make sure the track is selected, then right click on your touchpad on your mouse and select the last option, which is link clips. Now, hopefully if I click on them, you can now see that the audio and video are separate. So first of all, let's make a note of where we want the blur to be applied. So I'm just going to use the timeline marker to get a rough idea. And then you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard, the left and right arrow keys, to go frame by frame. So I go back a little bit. So I'm pressing the left arrow key, then the right key to get an idea. And then once I get the start point, click on the blade tool and we can put a little slice in that video. Again, the same process for the end point. Use the timeline marker and go towards the end, get a rough idea. Then we can use the arrow keys on the keyboard. So I'm pressing the left key, so I'm getting a rough idea. So that's a good point. Again, the blade tool is selected and I can just put another slice in the video. I'm just going to click on this option now to get rid of the blade tool. So now I have my start and my end point of where I want the blur to be applied. So I'm going to select the middle clip. Now I'm going to go to the color wheel on the bottom toolbar, click on the color option. So now we're in this option, so your video will look something like this. So if you click on, make sure that the actual clip is selected. So in my case, it's the middle clip. If it's on the first clip, make sure it's the middle one. If I click on this little icon to enhance the viewing, to make it a little bit bigger, so the blur effect is on this option here. So you can see this little triangle and water drop is the blur option. So click on that. Then we can use these sliders. So just focus on the radius. And if we increase it, we can see the blur is being applied to the entire video. So a good blur amount is something like 2.5 or 3. So you can now see that the blur effect has been applied to the entire video rather than the objects. So to apply it to the objects, we can see the objects here. We want to click on this icon here, which is called, this one, which is called window. So click on window, and there we get an option to apply the blur effect to these objects. So we have linear, we have circle, we have a polygon, we have a curve, and we have gradient. So I'm just going to go through these quickly. So linear is a square basically, and you can drag the white icons to resize it. And a circle, again, you can drag to increase or decrease the size. Linear, polygon, again, is same to the linear. Again, you can just drag to resize. And the curve, we can go around an entire object. And once you join the dots together, you can see the blur is applied. And the last one is the gradient, which you can see you can flip around. So this option is good for kind of getting rid of watermarks on the bottom of a video. Again, you can reposition, and you can also increase the blur amount and so on. So click on that to get rid of it. So for this one, I'm going to click on the circle. So you can now see, like I said earlier, the white dots are to increase or decrease the size, and the red dots are to add some softness around the edges so it doesn't look so sharp. You can also add the softness down here. So I'm just going to leave it as it is. So I'm just going to get a rough idea. So that looks pretty good. So that's one object blurred out. So if I want to blur out these other 4 objects, I need to click on the top option, see the plus sign next to the circle, click on it, and on the bottom another circle appears, and we can now drag that into place, and we can resize it, and just do it for all the objects we want blurred out. just like that. And the last one. So that's pretty good. So if I go back to my edit page, and if we just play the video from here, you can see as soon as those objects appear, the blur effect also takes place. And if I go towards the end, as they disappear, the blur also disappears. So that's one option. So if I go back into the color wheel, say for example, I wanted to actually blur out this entire video, but leave the objects visible. That is actually quite a simple process. So all I have to do, go back to the first circle or the first window you use. And if you click on this option here, we can now see that the blur effect has been applied to the entire video except for this object. But I want the other 4 objects to be visible. So if I scroll down towards the other objects, this time we don't click on the first option, we click on the second option, and you can now see that the objects appear. Again, click on the second option, and so on and so on. So this time we have these 5 objects visible, but the entire background is blurred out. And again, if you want to just reposition them, resize them, you can if you want to. So if we go back into edit, we can now see, press play, the entire background is blurred, but the objects are visible. And if we go towards the end, they disappear, and so does the blur. So that's how you can blur out a static object or multiple objects using DaVinci Resolve. Thanks for watching.